once was shooting up in the Klondike when they got Dan the Groom. Folks were putting the blame on the lady known as Lou. That's a story that went around, but here's the real lowdown. I like the green grass under my shoes. What can I lose? I'm flat, that's that. I'm all alone when I lower my lamp.
Will Friedwald of the Village Voice boast, drop-dead gorgeous looks, old-fashioned glam appeal, make even boomers nostalgic for 46. Lemley sizzles, hails the desert sun. Sexy, spicy, and irresistible, claims Swing Time magazine.
You lie awake and how you wish that it was morning. And then you smoke 100 cigarettes or more. The devil rain.
The New York Post claims you don't even have to squint to think Rita's in the room. Mysteriously comparable to Hayworth, says Paper Magazine. And backstage raves, Quinn Lemley burns up the stage.
With heart and soul I kiss them and file the memory under M. Tomorrow if I miss them, that may be the only time I think about them. Thank God I can be oversexed again, bewitched, bothered, and bewildered.
Welcome to Secrets of the Stage. I'm Paul Horton, the producer of The Heat is On, a life in concert celebrating Rita Hayworth, and I'm here with the director, writer, Carter Inskeep. Welcome, Carter.
Thank you very much.
How are you?
To be here. I'm good. A little warm. It's a warm day here in New York City.
It is toasty.
But the studio's fine.
The heat is on,
Oh!
Carter.
There's a woman there. Looks like Rita Hayworth, and we think that there's a show there. So I went to see Born to Rumba, and by golly, there was this young lady, Quinn Lemley, who was frightening like Rita Hayworth.
She is.
You don't have to squint your eyes to think that Rita's in the room.
That's
When I started studying and doing the research, it was an incredible story. Her life story is rags to riches, get knocked down, get up again, and she just had an indomitable spirit.
I had over 300,000 when I married Aly, and I walked away with nothing. Nada. So what do? When you're broke, you do a job you're good at, right? Filing clerks file. Plumbers plumb. Movie stars pick up their makeup cases and go back to making movies. You've got to spread joy up to the maximum, bring gloom down to the minimum. Have faith, or pandemonium's liable to walk upon the scene.
So, Carter,
Yeah.
tell me what it was like to get into Rita Hayworth's fascinating life and these characters that she had relationships with. And who were some of those characters?
Well, her life was amazing in that it had so many episodes. You take, and that's why this became much more of a biography. It starts with her talking about her childhood with a father who was a very domineering and not very nice fellow. She left her father and his adventures to marry a used car salesman.
Meanwhile, back at the ranch, Ed's control was making Papa look like an amateur. I was an investment for him, and he was a security blanket for me.
You know, started rebuilding her life again. And so this is kind of a scenario that plays out over and over in her life.
You say she had, although she was successful and beautiful, she had very little self-worth.
She had a spirit that would not allow herself to feel defeated. She walked away from these relationships.
What happened to him was the judge ordered me to pay $500 a month in alimony. Fine by me. Hey, you know what? I was a liberated woman way back in 42.
Yeah,
She was a trendsetter from the beginning, right?
She was a woman's liber from the very beginning.
Yeah.
You know, and going to the end of her career, when she was no longer in film, she set up her own production company herself.
I'm a broad with a broad mind. But maybe if I had some help.
Orson Welles, how did that come about?
She met Orson Welles at the USO, at the Hollywood Canteen, and he was doing a magic act. He was very fond of doing magic, so he did magic for the soldiers, and she volunteered to be his assistant. They fell in love.
And he introduced me to a whole new world. That old black magic has me in its spell. That old black magic that you weave so well.
Was it a good relationship?
It's about somebody that
Extraordinary people.
really manipulates people. Orson Welles was very, very good at that, and she had his child.
Orson had to be the maestro. Let's face it, he had no intention of playing second fiddle, or worse, becoming Mr. Hayworth.
We're talking about classic Hollywood.
Yeah.
Columbia, Orson Welles, Prince Aly Khan, one of the most beautiful women in Hollywood. Mm-hmm. A bombshell.
The love goddess is the way they...
Do kids today know anything about Rita Hayworth and classic Hollywood? Or you have to be a film.
I think you have to be a bit of a geek
historian
to know about it, you know. I mean, I didn't, and you know, have been in the industry all of my life, so I knew very little about Rita Hayworth, and it wasn't until I read about her that I realized that really was a tale to tell.
Quinn and her look inspired you guys to get into this life of Rita Hayworth.
Yeah.
This classic, extraordinary woman.
I'm a spontaneous combustion in a sliding gown. The heat is on. The heat is on. You're gonna hear the sirens howl tonight. You're gonna see the building bounce because the lady's on the prowl tonight. And it behooves me to announce.
It's brilliant, and what you've done, and I've produced the show in many, many, many theaters now.
Yeah.
Throughout North America, and to standing ovations. It is a fascinating combination of music and acting and drama.
Yeah.
What inspired you to get into this music?
Write a book. Just from all of the information I could gather from all of the sources, I wrote a long narrative. It's a one-person show. So she tells her life from top to bottom.
It's an extremely powerful show.
Yes.
For an artist to play. And Quinn does it brilliantly.
And then we took music. Actually, you when you started producing the show, you gave us some of the best advice ever, because we were using music that was only directly associated with Rita Hayworth, that she sang or was in a show that she was in, or all that. And then when you looked at it, you said, you know, you guys are limiting yourself here. Why do you want to do that? Because you can use anything that would have been part of her life,
part of that era.
Right. So that opened us up to the whole Great American Songbook. Yeah. So we could take songs that would have influenced Rita in her life, and use them to heighten the moment or explain her feelings, just like you would in a musical. So, in effect, it is a jukebox musical, but it's from a whole jukebox.
To illustrate my last remark, John and the whale, Noah and the ark. What did they do just when everything looks so dark?
About the time of Pal Joey, that Frank Sinatra insisted that she be in Pal Joey because he said she built Columbia Studios. My favorite line that kind of encapsulates everyone's feeling about Aly Khan is that everyone in Hollywood was at his funeral just to make sure he was really dead. Treated Rita with acrimony, and I can't put my finger on why. Maybe because he knew that she was the reason for Columbia's success and didn't want her to get a big head. I don't know. I couldn't climb into that guy's mind at all.
Well, he wanted to control her.
Yep. And again,
He didn't want her to think she was valuable outside of his control. And so he was one of the great manipulators
of all time.
of all time.
And again, this is poor Rita's pattern.
Yep.
To fall in with manipulative men, but it is also just probably what Hollywood was like.
Truly, it wasn't the first, it wasn't the last, but never with Harry. I've been kissed before, arms have held me fast. You can tell by my kiss you weren't the first, and you won't be the last.
I love Bewitched, Bothered, and Bewildered.
That's an amazing song.
Bewitched, bothered, and bewildered am I.
Another beautiful song.
Yeah.
I wonder if anybody knows these tunes today.
I think they know them just sort of as a vestigial memory, and then when they hear them, it's like, oh, I haven't heard that in so long.
What are some of the more famous moments that you
Well,
incorporated into the show?
Okay, the big film that capped her career was Gilda.
Amazing
and
film. Just a classic.
Just talk about film
Brilliant.
noir classic
Yeah.
and the essence of the femme fatale.
Yeah.
She basically says to her husband that she hates him so much that she'll ruin her life to bring him down.
There was a famous moment. It's still famous today.
Yes, indeed.
What is that moment?
Well, I can't do it for you because
Maybe
I don't have the hair. But
maybe we can find some B-roll for it.
yeah.
But just tell us about
her establishing shot in that. She's behind a dressing screen, and she pops up from behind the dressing screen, and she's got this massive load of red hair, and she flips it back as she comes up. See, I tried to do it.
Yeah.
And flips it back, and she says, "You're looking for me?"
that. And today, that is still known as the quintessential.
Absolutely.
The quintessential
Absolutely.
moment.
Absolutely. And of course, the other moment of that is her very subtle striptease in Put the Blame on Me.
Yeah. She takes off a glove.
Just oops.
It is the sexiest
And she's
striptease
wearing
in
the
history.
gown, the Jean-Louis black gown,
Which is
corseted,
amazing.
beautiful.
Folks were putting the blame on the lady known as Lou. That's a story that went around, but here's the real lowdown. Put the blame on Mame, boys. Put the blame on Mame.
If a patron was to see the show or a presenter to see the show or hear this conversation, what would you want them to know that they were going to experience at their theater?
I hope that, first of all, they will be taken on a wonderful ride through early Hollywood and learn a little bit about how the system worked back then. And secondly, be impressed by this woman's strength.
Who's that girl with the permanent wave and a dress below her knees? Who's that doll in the open-toe pumps? Would you kindly tell me, please? The name is Margarita. Margarita Carmen Dolores Cancino. I come from a long line of Spanish dancers. Romas. That's right, gypsies. In fact, Papa, Eduardo Cancino, brought the rumba to America, where he met Volga Hayworth dancing in the Ziegfeld Follies. Look at her, Miss 1946. Teenage Rita, queen of the 40s flick. Rooney.
Who were the men in her lives, from that scrappy stock to an extraordinary career?
Well,
Who were those
I think
men?
the pinnacle of her social standing was when she married Aly Khan, who
Prince
was
Aly Khan.
Prince Aly Khan.
She was the first
She was the
American.
first American, the first Hollywood European princess. Left Hollywood
Wow.
over some pretty dicey things that Mr. Cohn did, and she finally said, I've had it. She went to Europe thinking that she would escape everything, but that was right when Gilda hit, or Gilda, Gilda in Europe, and she was the hottest thing.
There I was. I'd gotten everything I ever dreamed of. I was the hottest star in the world. And I was never more alone. Still, these were pretty heady times. One night, the marvelous Elsa Maxwell said that I needed to come to one of her fabulous parties in Cannes. Her instructions were, Rita, darling, wear white, arrive late, and make an entrance.
What did they do? They put her image on a bomb?
Well, that's what kind of made her.
Is that a true story?
Yes, absolutely. It wasn't Hiroshima or Nagasaki. It was after World War II. But America had used the atomic bomb, and a lot of people had legitimate complaints about that and wanted the U.S. to forswear ever using them again. But Eisenhower insisted that they continue the research and development. So the United States had taken over a place called Bikini Atoll, which is where the term bikini comes from.
Carter, what is that famous line that she said that people would know today?
Well, she used it in reference to the end of her marriage.
I think, in a nutshell, our problem was Aly went to bed with Gilda, but woke up with me.
With an extraordinary life that ultimately ends in a debilitating disease, Alzheimer's disease. Is this a depressing show to go to?
It is her spirit that every time she got knocked down, she got up and made herself better. And and that's part of the monologue in the end, which is she basically delivers to the audience about her lesson.
The Heat Is On is a celebration of a life.
Absolutely.
And I think that's why in every theater we've produced it,
Yeah.
it ends in a standing ovation.
It's an amazing life. It is truly an amazing life.
Everybody gets bruised and battered and lost along the way. But we all pick ourselves up and we carry on as many times as we can.
And part of the joy of the evening, I think, is, wow, really? I didn't know that.
Was such an iconic persona of Rita Hayworth. How did you direct Quinn Lemley, and how did you guys collaborate to make this performance believable?
Just tell the truth. It was always just tell the truth. You're not narrating a story. You're telling the truth. And as far as being a movie star, you just look at Quinn Lemley. Quinn Lemley, she's beautiful, and she has a persona that just lights up a room when she walks in. It is a big show. It's a damn big show, and the lighting and all of that. I think it has to come down to Quinn just being able to carry a room of 1,000 people.
There's magic happening on that stage. How does the director bring that out of an artist?
It has to be there, first of all, in the first place, because you can't make that happen.
The creative process,
Yeah.
and the relationship of a director and an artist,
Right.
and that ability to bring a performance to life is such a collaborative, intimate.
We not only have become best of friends, but when we get in a room to work, we are able to trust each other completely. I know that I can say anything to Quinn about my perception. At this point, my job in this show is to be the audience.
I like the green grass under my shoes. What can I lose? I'm flat, that's that. I'm all alone when I lower my lamp. That's why the lady is a tramp.
And then come back to her and say, you know, what you did there, and what happens most nowadays is, you know, when you did that, can you just bring that up just a little bit more? Because that was beautiful, and you can go with
Now
that.
that's fascinating.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. When you get to that point, you're directing, it's coming to life. The artist is giving you everything you want.
Yeah.
It's those magical moments.
Ginger Rogers is known as Fred Astaire's all-time partner. But when Fred Astaire was asked later in his career who was the best person to dance with, he said you'd be hard-pressed to find anybody better than Rita Hayworth.
As Ginger Rogers said, I did everything he did. In high heels and backwards.
How did you create the voice? The context of the show is fascinating.
Right.
The place is fascinating. She's coming, she's in another world. She's in that middle space, whatever that is, as you said. She's energy. And the energy is trying to resolve all the questions in her life. Something probably everybody wants to do.
Hopefully, yeah.
You know, figure out why.
Yeah.
Why? And so how did you create this book? How did you write this book and find that voice of this iconic being? And she's a ghost. And you did it in such a way where the show ends and you love it. You're happy.
Shucks. Oh, go on.
You're happy.
Oh,
you know?
go on.
People are happy. They love it.
Yeah.
How did you find that voice?
My mother.
Interesting.
I was trying, you know, all of a sudden it struck me that this time period coincided with my mom.
It's a one-woman show, but I never feel like I've experienced, and I've seen it many, many times, a one-woman show.
You're not tired of it yet.
By the time it's over. There's so many characters. Prince Aly Khan, Orson Welles, Frank Sinatra, the whole era of Hollywood, building Columbia, the pain, the struggle, the success, the celebration,
And she's
the
got
drugs.
a great sense of humor.
And she's got a great sense of humor to boot. And
Lots of laughs in this show.
lots of laughs and lots of tears.
Yeah.
Carter, you've done an amazing job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Writing the show, directing the show.
You're too kind.
The critical acclaim is throughout North America. You've received critical acclaim throughout North America. Quinn has received critical acclaim for her performance, from the New York Times to Los Angeles to all over.
One might think it's challenging to have one person on stage for 90 minutes, but it is such intimate piece about such an interesting time and place and characters, and Rita's a good storyteller. So it's very much like you're almost in her living room.
Carter, if you were to tell people what the essence of the show is, because everybody likes to get to the essence.
Rita Hayworth was a huge star, but she always remained grounded and human. And no matter what life threw at her, she knew that she had to get up, dust herself off, start all over again. And she just kept getting knocked down and getting back up and being more successful each time. And there's a bit of a lesson for all of us there that, you know, life is going to deal you some really harsh blows. It's just going to happen. And you can let those conquer you, or you can sit down and say, what the hell was that?
I find it to be a very inspiring production.
It was an
and
inspiring life. It was inspiring to learn about her.
powerful lesson for people, for
Yeah.
all people.
Yeah, well, you know that at the end of the show with
Yeah.
the reaction from the audience. They're pretty well blown away.
Thanks, Carter.
Pleasure.